This deal is catastrophic for America, for Israel, and for the whole of the Middle East.
Iran has not lived up to the spirit of the agreement, and they have to do that.
Until the Iranian regime is willing to be a partner for peace, all nations of conscience must work together to isolate Iran.
Instead of saying thank you to the United States, they now feel emboldened. It was a terrible thing for the United States to enter that deal. And believe me, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, that I can tell you.
The United States is now undertaking a comprehensive review of this policy.
2 years ago today, the Obama administration signed the Iran deal in Vienna. Now, the Trump administration has until Monday to certify that Iran is living up to its end of the bargain, and it appears that the administration is going to do that with some caveats. What about all of that? Let's bring in our panel. Steve Hayes, editor-in-chief for the Weekly Standard. Charles Hurt, opinion editor for the Washington Times. Jillian Turner, former National Security Council staffer under Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, Jillian, what do you say? They'll certify it.
On the deal tonight, I think what's going to happen is that the president is in a position now where, because it's inked, he's going to have to certify this. And not just because, you know, the reality is Iran probably is living up to the letter of the law, if not the spirit of the deal. But the problem here is once a deal like this is inked, it's very hard to renege, whether in whole or in part. I think the administration is seeing that now after 6 months in office.
I mean, just to explain that, because a lot of the things for Iran were on the front end. I mean, the stipulations that they got, the things they got, were at the front of the deal.
Continuous throughout the deal. You know, the sanctions relief that it offered them allows them to bring their international energy supplies to the global marketplace. They're going to net somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 million over the next few years from this deal. But I think the political capital that was invested in bringing Germany and the UK and France to the negotiating table is something that we have to stand by. Pulling out of that will be a major betrayal of those countries whose support we need right now.
Steve.
Yeah, we have a good article in the Weekly Standard right now about where this goes next, because I think you're right. I mean, we reported yesterday that they're recertifying. That's likely to happen. The president could still change his mind, but before Monday, that seems unlikely. The next step, Senator Corker told Jen Liffel's on our staff that he had a conversation with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, and Tillerson says they don't exactly want to rip up the Iran deal. They don't want to keep it as it is. They want to add to it, and they want to bring in European countries to toughen sanctions and to perhaps put additional sanctions on Iranian behavior. And they want to make the argument a more comprehensive argument so that they're actually dealing with the nature of the Iranian regime and Iranian behavior with respect to terrorism and regional instability, not just the nuclear plan. I think there are reasons to be skeptical of that. I think it's going to be a very heavy lift. The Europeans are, by and large, happy with the Iran deal as it is today and are doing commerce with the Iranians at a high clip.
Speaking of Secretary Tillerson, a few months ago I asked him about this process. It seemed like he was just going to certify, but the White House kind of stepped in, it seemed, and I asked him about it. Was that the White House coming in saying you have to do something different? How much input did you have in that initial decision?
Well, I was directly engaged in it. I think one of the flaws behind the entire JCPOA process is it seemed to have been carried out to the exclusion of all the other aspects of Iran's behavior as a state sponsor of terrorism, their disruptive behavior throughout the region. The concern was that issuing a 90-day statutory requirement indicating compliance on the JCPOA was going to signal that somehow everything was okay with Iran and us, and it is not okay between Iran and us.
And just to make clear, the JCPOA is the Iran deal. Charles.
Look, Tillerson is exactly right that the way the administration structured the deal, it's completely divorced from all other Iranian actions, the expansion, the terrorism, its attempt to take over neighboring countries. All of these activities are excluded. Obama did that explicitly. He wanted this to be a pure nuclear deal. The other element of it is that he very cleverly, as you said earlier, he had all the goodies given to Iran up front. And the major one, the one that really counts, is that the world had been able to, after 10 years under our leadership, to produce a worldwide sanctions regime that was killing the Iranian economy, and that was lifted right away. That's the problem. American sanctions on the edges are not going to make any difference. The Europeans have totally lifted the sanctions. The Iranian economy is on the rebound. They are never going to reimpose it. The Russians aren't going to reimpose it, or the Chinese. That is lost. So there is no point tearing up the deal. The Iranians are going to have the benefits. At least it holds them in some check. The question is, what do you do when it runs out in less than a decade? That's what we ought to be thinking about. But revising the deal now is not going to make a dime's worth of difference.
Senator Tom Cotton disagrees with you. He says this: the Iran deal was a foolish mistake from the very start. It certainly hasn't improved with age. Tehran has repeatedly violated the terms of the deal by operating too many advanced centrifuges, exceeding limits on heavy water stocks, and refusing to grant inspectors access to nuclear research and military facilities. Continuing sanctions relief for such a recalcitrant regime is directly against our national interest. The State Department should decline to certify that Iran is in compliance with the JCPOA and hold the regime accountable for its double dealing. Charlie.
Certainly what we're hearing from the Trump administration now is a lot more nuanced than we heard on the campaign trail. I liked what I heard on the campaign trail about this a lot more than I like what they're talking about now. But I do think that Donald Trump has a pretty, he still lacks a big victory on taxes or Obamacare, obviously. But on the executive action things, he's been pretty good about keeping his word to his supporters, whether it's on trade or the environment or immigration. He's been pretty good about pushing through, sticking to even the most controversial promises. And so I still sort of have a wait-and-see attitude about whether he eventually does tear this thing up.
I mean, the tough part is that it is two separate tracks. It is Iran, the terrorist sponsor, Iran, the stirrer of trouble in the region, but this nuclear deal is a separate deal. And to think that these countries are going to redo it seems like a stretch.
Yeah, it does. The administration has undertaken this interagency Iran policy review, a comprehensive review that's being led by senior officials at the National Security Council. It brings in intelligence folks and diplomats and folks from the Pentagon as well. And they want to undo precisely what Charles was talking about. The Obama administration did try to decouple the nuke talks from everything else. And the big change in the Trump administration policy, I think it's a change for the good, is to say it makes no sense to ignore the nature of the regime when you're talking about a nuclear program, or you're talking about terrorism, you're talking about instability in the region.
The problem is we'll never get the Europeans on board with that fix. It's a needed fix. We should do it. It's not going to happen. So we have to be realistic. It's not going to happen. What do we gain by tearing it up? Nothing. It means Iran will break out openly, and we're going to have a crisis.
Do they certify Monday?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, next up.